If you leave South Africa to take up employment in a foreign country, then you need to enter remuneration information on this foreign income screen. All you have to enter is the remuneration income earned while working offshore and to select whether the 1.25 million exemption is to apply or not. It's as simple as that. WinTax does everything else for you. The exemption only applies to taxpayers who worked offshore for at least 183 days, of which at least 60 days was continuous. Let's have a look at the first example. A salary of 1.4 million and accommodation of 100,000. We can see that the total remuneration is 1.5 million, and we can enter the 1.5 million right here in the white field for remuneration, or we can click on the itemize button to enter the separate amounts into the grid. If a travel allowance formed part of the foreign remuneration, then the itemized grid must be used where an amount is indicated as a Y if it's a foreign travel allowance received. Only a portion of this foreign travel allowance amount shown here may be allowed as an allowance received on the travel claim screen. When we click OK to close the grid, then the total of these remuneration amounts in the grid will be entered into the white field. If, in this example, the taxpayer spent less than 183 days earning this money offshore, then we select the exemption as N for no or just leave it blank. We can see that there is no exemption amount allowed, and so the full 1.5 million of remuneration earned offshore is added to taxable income. If we select Y, to show that the remuneration earned offshore was earned when the taxpayer worked offshore for more than the 183-day rule period, then an exemption of up to 1.25 million will apply to the total remuneration earned offshore, and we can see that only 250,000 Rand is added to taxable income on this assessment. It's strongly recommended that you click on this blue I for Info button to display this text screen, which will give you a lot of hints and tips on the subject. If any income tax was deducted in the foreign country from the 1.5 million remuneration you earned in that country, then you can enter that tax under code 4111. Let's say 300,000 in tax was deducted in the foreign country. WinTax will use SARS's 6-quat formula to calculate how much of that foreign tax you will be allowed as a tax credit. For example, 250,000 was added to income locally here in South Africa, so SARS is only going to say, well, you can only claim the tax that would have been deducted on 250,000, not 1.5 million. I've now entered 4 million foreign remuneration earned, and I've selected that the taxpayer earned this 4 million working offshore for more than the 183-day period. In a case like this then, even with the 1.25 million Rand exemption, we still have 2.75 now taxable in South Africa, and the tax due to SARS is considerable. If I bring over the auto summary screen, you'll see what I mean. This is the tax you're going to have to pay to SARS here in South Africa.